This is a solution for Evans Chapter 3, Problem 6. Here we have the problem. Construct a column chart for the data in the Excel file state unemployment rates to allow comparison of the June rate with the historical highs and lows. And that would be all fine if they actually gave us the June rates. But actually, they gave us the January rates. And here's the title of the main information that we have in here, January 2013 rate. We'll just go ahead and do this one. And so we'll grab all the data. We'll let Excel find it for us. I'm going to grab everything by doing a Control-Shift down arrow on that. And we'll do an insert of the column chart. And I'm just going to take the simplest of all column charts. Okay, so there's at least 4 things on this that we're going to want to do. The defaults that it hands us, we might be able to do a little bit better on that. So for one thing, on the vertical axis here, there's no label. Nobody knows what these numbers probably are. So we're going to add in a label. Would be a good idea there. It's a little bit difficult to read with the text on the x-axis going perfectly vertical like that. The other thing is that we have legend way over here, and we're reading about the legend, and our eyes are going down vertically when the information is horizontal. And we probably can find a better place for that. And we probably want a title on the entire chart here. So the first thing we'll do is move the legend here. Let's try putting it on the bottom, seeing how that looks. And now the labels for each of these comparisons is in the right order. So you have January, which is blue. The January rate is blue. The historical high is red. Notice it's higher than the blue, which it should be. And historical low is green, which is lower than the blue. And one thing you'll start thinking about is, gee, this kind of information is a little bit like stock prices, whatever interperiod stock prices here, whether it be day or month or year, whatever it might be. So we've moved the legend. Let's rotate the text on the x-axis labels here. Format x-axis. I grabbed just the block down here. When you click this, Excel's pretty intelligent, and it knows you want to talk about these labels on the x-axis. So what we'll do is we'll change the alignment type here, and simply all you really need to do is we're going to add an angle on this, because what we're going to find out is the data is pretty compressed on our chart, and something's going to happen here. But it's hard to read when they're vertical, but what we're doing is taking it to a -45 degree on here, and you can play around with these controls. Remember, I mean, learning about Excel is to find out how some of these controls work. There's just so many of these controls in here. These are the ones that kind of help us out here. What we'll notice is as I rotated that to about 45 degrees, we ended up losing every other one here. Excel doesn't try to jam and put them on top of each other, but just starts spreading the names out. It starts eliminating some of the names. But if you make your chart bigger, the text actually starts showing up on all the lines, which you really need. These are categorical data. You have to know what state you're looking at here. They happen to be in alphabetical order, and I'll just try making that a little bit more. There we go. I think that's good. So we've gone all the way to -59. Let's go to 60, make it a round number. So that's still pretty readable, and I think it's much more readable than when it was perfectly vertical. That was pretty hard on the eyes. So we'll click the entire chart. I just clicked up here on the fat border. When the chart knows it's being selected, it puts up a fat border. And we'll use the layout up here to go to axis titles. And we know that this is going to have to do with the primary vertical axis. So we'll select that one. And we'll use a vertical title. Let's go with a rotated title. I think that's what we want. So it puts in this title here, a little bit small. So let's select all the data in there, text. Unemployment, Jan of 2013, by state. Shorten it up a little bit. I don't want it that big, because one of the things I'm going to do here is grab the data and we'll format it a little bit. I think we need to make that a little bit bigger so it's readable. Okay, so we'll go with that, and let's soften it up a little bit by making it one shade of gray. Just take it out of that harsh black. So our eyes are on the data. Make the data the data, we say, okay? Make sure your eyes are on the data, okay? We're not really showing percentages on here, but let's assume we're talking to an intelligent audience and they know that these are in percent. That's debatable. Depends on who you're going to go to with this. The only other thing we'll do is add in a title on the top of this. We'll add in the chart title to clicking up here in the ribbon. And above the chart, grab this, and this would be something along the same lines. There we go. Click outside it, and that's a pretty nice chart. But wide. To make it readable, we had to do that. So that's part one of the problem. We'll go to part two now. And what was the second part they asked us? Would any other charts be better to visually convey this information? Why or why not? I did mention, or if I haven't, I'm going to, that we could also, this information tends to look like stock data because we could use a stock chart. Okay. The one thing about using the stock chart is the order in which the columns is fixed. You have to set the data up the right way for the stock charts to work. And that is high, low, close. So our analogy here is if we're talking about a January 2013 rate, that would be, say, our interperiodic value, like from day to day, what the close or the middle points of the stock would be, and we could treat this as the close data. So we're going to have to move that. So I'm going to do a Control X on the column and drop it in over here. And now we have a high, low, close, which is similar to what the stock chart wants. It really wants that. We're going to want to get rid of this extra column here by deleting it. Okay, so now we're all loaded up to do this the correct way, where state would be the name of the share, the stock, and then the high-low close would be some rates that we're looking at. It's very similar. So we select all that and insert another chart, but this time we're going to go for stock charts. Okay, and there's a couple of different ones. There's candlesticks in here. There's a couple other ones in here. We're going to go for the basic, which just shows a bar representing the difference between high and low, and a tick mark that shows the day close rate. Okay, if you're talking about your periods being a day. Double click that, and we get a chart like this. Okay. Okay. So in this case, let's take a look at it, and I'll spread this out a little bit. There's a couple things that we can do. In this case, when we look at any one day or any one state, the information, there's a vertical nature to this, where we see the high and the low, and there's a little tick mark here that shows the close of the day. That's basically our current rate, our current unemployment rate. Okay, so we're borrowing the stock chart and we're using it for something else. Okay, and in this case, the legend probably works just fine the way that it's set up. Okay. In fact, I might just delete it, and we might add some text in or something in later on. We might have to put the legend back in there by the time we're done. But now we've spread this far enough apart. You notice that in this case, it actually dropped the names of the states in at an angle. We don't have to go in and do that. Lost our data somewhere, so I'm coming back to it. Okay, I had to take a few back steps here. Somewhere we lost the data on that. Okay, and in this case, if we spread it wide enough, the names do get put in as an angle. Okay, so you can see the tick mark, the high and the low. Okay, sometimes these things happen in Excel. Okay. Now, one of the things that we can do is tick marks are extremely small. The lines are very fine. It might not print very well. So we can actually grab not just the line, we can also grab tick marks. We can grab each of these, format them a little bit differently. So let's grab the lines first and format them. format the high-low lines, and we're going to go for the line style and fatten them up a little bit. Use some points here. We'll go up to 3. Try something like 3 on that, okay? So we darkened those up. Now we can at least see them. We actually blocked out what the current rates are, the little tick marks. But guess what? We can go in there, format that just as well. Go under marker options. Right now it's a little tiny tick, and it's at 3. And we're not going to be super precise here. You know, we're using a chart. So why don't we pick something else like it's either a circle or a star, and let's bump it up, make it nice and fat and obvious. Okay, let's give ourselves a little vertical here, and now we have a nice chart that shows the current rate and historic high and historic low. I like this. This is an alternative they were asking for, and we can go in and do things like add in the chart title like we did before. And in our title, if people read that, then they'll know what they're looking at here, a high and a low and a tick mark for the current. Okay? Let's go take a look at our legend. Did we lose our legend? No. Now the legend's back again. And so what this describes is our historic high is the top part, the historic low is the low part, our tick mark is the January 2013 rate, and you know, we can just do something like we did before. We're just repeating the earlier part of this. Access titles, do the vertical. Let's do a vertical title. You know, we've been through this before, doing a little bit different here. And we can go in here and we can edit that any way we want. Let's grab some of this text and at least bump the font up. So we're getting out of the font. Not totally necessary. And then we'll just bump that to the gray. Okay, so we just moved it to gray. And that is an alternative. You might have found a different one that works for you, but that's good enough for this video to explain what's going on in 6 and why we did some of the things that we did in there.